Welcome back to the CullRoom. I am Ayush, the founder of FilterPixel. We built this series to take photographers behind the closed doors of the industry to see how working professionals actually work, not just the final images everyone sees online. And we invite the guest every single week. And joining us today is Will Thompson. Will is a professional sports photographer who has spent years covering some of the biggest teams and sporting events. From fast paced game days to tight editorial deadlines, he has built a reputation for consistently delivering high quality work under pressure. Along the way, he has developed a workflow that balances speed, storytelling, and technical precision, something every sports photographer strives for. Today, we are diving into what it really takes to shoot sports professionally and how technology is changing the industry and how AI fits into the workflow without replacing the photographer's eye. So let's invite Will. Will,
Hey,
welcome to the Cull Room. How's it going?
good. Yeah, good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to my side of the world of photography.
Well, I'm so glad you are here. And I want to start at the beginning because every sports photographer has a different story. I want to know like what first pulled you into sports photography and how did you land your first opportunity shooting professionally?
Yeah, I think well, it goes quite far back, really, looking like into photography in general for me. It's kind of started with my grandfather was kind of doing photography on the side, and then passed it down to my father, and then now it's been passed down to me. So that was about kind of 15 years ago.
Oh my
And I've
gosh.
always kind of been an active kid. I've loved skiing. Like anything kind of sports related. And so I picked up a camera, and it was kind of the rest was history, as cliche as it sounds. But yeah, I found a real passion in telling stories through sports and really getting to tell the athlete's story of how they got to where they are and what they do now. Um, yeah, I think the first job I did was it was a basketball job. It's a basketball tournament at a local high school in my hometown, and I kind of just reached out, and it worked out in the end.
Very interesting. And what's more interesting for me, it's like it's generations of your family who is into this
Yeah,
photography, and it's like you're like the third generation.
yeah, yeah.
Oh wow,
First
like
first one to
great.
take it seriously as a career.
100%, and I agree. Um, People often see the sidelines and assumes that it's all excess and it's all excitement. What does a typical game day actually look like if you can tell to our audience, from arriving at the venue to delivering the final images, what's the entire typical day looks like to you?
Yeah, that's a good question because I think like a lot of sports fans in general would be surprised with a lot of how sports photographers actually work. I think a lot of people assume they get there a couple minutes before the game starts and they leave right away. I think that's
Yeah.
quite a common misconception in the world of sports photography. But for me, I will arrive about 3 hours before the game. I like to get there before any fans are allowed in, anything like that, and just kind of get my bearings. I'll go to the media room, I'll drop my bag off, and then I'll do a walk around of the venue and kind of get an idea of where I should be, where I can stand, what's going to be best to make my workflow the smoothest and be able to get the same shots at the same time. So yeah, I'll arrive a couple hours early. I'll do my little walk around. For me, that is the most important part of the preparation for the game.
Hmm.
I'll then go and get all my photography stuff ready, my cameras. I'll set up my laptop, make sure everything's loaded up, whether that be, have Filter Pixel open, have Lightroom open, ready to go. And then it's just shooting. So it's about just making sure I'm in the spots that I need to be to tell the story, um, whether it be for the shots that I personally need to get or whether it be the team that I'm working for. And then from there, halftime we do kind of a quick call, quick edit, and then same right at the end of the game as well.
Amazing. So it's more of like, first of all, it starts like 3 hours before, then we see it, and
Mhm.
then it just not. involve just like clicking shots. It has a lot to do apart from clicking shots. And then uh, like there are areas which clients see, and then there are all of these parts of your workflow which nobody see. It's
Yeah.
all of your hard work. It's all you are putting into. Interesting. I have seen sports from a very different perspective today. Like for me, first of all, the best experience that you're trying to give to your clients, which I learned from your discussion, is like you coming there 3 hours before, making sure everything is ready and ready to go, is a clear sign of how people should really work and how people should really um, prepare before the actual game. So,
Yeah.
sports photography for me is one of those most deadline driven genres,
Hmm.
high volume
Big time.
and deadline driven. Like you
Yeah.
have to click a lot and then you have to give the final shots on the same day. What's the
Hmm.
biggest challenge like your clients don't see behind the scenes?
I think it is that like turning all these photos onto my SD card into final results in a timely manner. I think that's such a like for clients that haven't necessarily worked with photographers before, they kind of just assume it's an easy thing to do. Um, but it is like it's quick, it's fast, it's get this out so that you the client can have it as soon as possible. And I
They'll be
think for me,
like
like I
the photos are in your camera. Why you are not giving to us?
yeah, they're like, why didn't you just give it right away? It's like, well, there's quite a bit more that goes into it than just here's the photos, you know. And I think for me, like I get quite a lot of questions of like how to be a better sports photographer. And for me, it does go back to that preparation piece of like if you're there early and you can get yourself sorted and have that smooth workflow, by the time it comes time to deliver those photos, it's smooth.
Interesting. And I know that you have photographed a lot of sports and teams. How much does that, like, how much does your approach change depending on whether you are shooting football, baseball, basketball, or any other sport? Like, are you
Mhm.
constantly thinking differently?
Yeah, I think different sports just again goes back to the preparation piece and understanding the game from not necessarily a photographer's lens, but just from a viewer's lens and understanding how each game flows and how each game moves. That's the best way that I have found to be able to approach each game differently. Of course, there's different amount of time. You know, a hockey game might be slightly longer than a basketball game or vice versa. Um, but just being able to understand each game makes it way more important and just smoother.
Very interesting. So every game goes differently. It just goes into preparation, how to shoot, what is the shoot list, how to prepare for that game. I
Totally.
was also having an interesting discussion yesterday with someone on when you shoot a game, where do you sit or to shoot the game also is an important part of the equation because there is
100%.
audience around it. You're not allowed to enter some areas, but you have to take the best shots. Have you ever faced that challenge?
Yeah, all the time. All the time. I think oftentimes with sports photography, you can expect one thing to happen and the complete opposite will happen. You know, you could be like, oh, I'll sit here. And then you actually get there and they're not allowed any photographers there or something like that. So definitely being able to adapt and kind of alter your way of shooting depending on each game or scenario is definitely very important.
And you know why I ask this? Because there is a saying that sports photography is about anticipation and not reaction.
Yeah.
So you have to train yourself to predict the right moment. And I want to know, like, because you're coming from a background of generations, and you said that you are the one who is taking it seriously, you are the one who is making it a full time job. How do
Yeah.
you train yourself to predict the moment before it really happens?
Yeah. Again, I think it comes down to understanding the game. I mean, like last week I shot Canadian football. And you know when they have the ball and close near the end zone, it's like I'm running around to the end zone and I'm finding that spot where I anticipate the ball to go. So a lot of it is being prepared and knowing the game, and some of it's also luck.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
But all you
So
can do is prepare, right?
100%. Yeah. And sometimes, you're not going to be able to get the shot, and that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why we take a lot of shots so that we know like at least we will get something out
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So let's talk about the part most photographers spend hours, on afterwards, the culling process, right?
Right.
And we know that shooting is one part of it, and as you explained, like there are a lot of parts in the process which are not shown to the client, and culling is definitely one of them. You have been using deep culling, and I wanna like show it to our audience. If you can walk us through
Hmm.
today your workflow. um, you also share some things like what was your previous workflow before using deepcul by filter pixel, and you can show us what you have improved today in your workflow.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
So once you're ready, I can bring this screen share on.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm ready for you whenever.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So here's a project I had a couple of weeks ago. And the first thing I wanted to touch on before I even get into Filter Pixel is something that you actually mentioned at the beginning. Um, is that it doesn't take, like, we're using AI, but it's not taking away from the photographer.
100%.
And I think that's quite a common misconception, especially with a lot of the talk that's going on around AI at the moment. It's not taking away from my skill. It's not taking away from, changing the way that I do things um, in a creative sense. It's just making things smoother for me and to have that quick turnaround. Um, so this is obviously a project I have. It's from a basketball game here in Canada. Um, and I think for me, the best part is the speed at which it culls. I mean, I could literally put it on, go get a glass of water, and I come back and it's like done. Which is something that is hugely important to me. And having that fast turnaround is something that has been talked about a lot in this industry. And this is something that works really well with Filter Pixel. Um, and then from there, like we have like Filter Pixel's best photos. These ones I'll review, which they don't take me long at all to review. I'll just pop through them all. You can see some of them are repeats anyways. So, and then the rejected, which is ones that just don't quite work, which is perfect for me. I don't even need to look at them. It's like, okay, Filter Pixel's done its job there. I'm happy. And then the big part for me that I really enjoy is the AI analysis. I think being able to look at each thing. I mean, of course, I can do this myself, but again, it comes down to speed. And so I see
Yeah.
this right away, and it's like, okay, like I know what's going to work here. Um, and then also having each set or scene, and then it choosing its best out of those as well. So I just think the speed and the way that it runs itself is what makes it matter and what makes it important for me in my daily workflow as a sports photographer.
Very interesting. I think like when you talk about AI analysis, one of the interesting things that we redesigned or rethought and then came out with this particular approach is the genre specific angle. When we
Mhm.
were creating it for photographers in 2025, we were thinking that everybody calls the same, but then over a period after taking a lot of feedback from the community, we realized like people who are like photographers who are doing weddings and photographers who are doing sports and photographers who are doing other kind of work, they all have different ways of how they select photos. And
Mhm.
initially it came out like just an idea to us to create specific selection criterias on which we will choose the photos based on what the genre they select at the beginning. And then we did
Right.
it. And then we went back to the photographers to give feedback, and they told us, oh, I don't understand on which criteria it is choosing my photos. And until I
Mhm.
have that particular transparency, I cannot trust it. And the factor of trust was very important. Then we have to come out with a way where AI can tell the criteria, like it can explain why it has rejected and why it has
Yes.
selected,
Yes.
um,
Yeah,
which
that's
it's
really
very
important, I
difficult to
think.
trust a system.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think, yeah, it's important to be able to, I think trust is a very big topic in this. Um, and being able to trust that it's doing what you need it to do. And through the time of me using this, it's earned my trust, you know?
Yeah, and I also want to know, like, what was your previous workflow and how much time was it taking before, and how is it right now?
Yeah, my previous workflow um, was literally manually. So I put it into a folder and then I would manually cull it over myself, um, which would take an hour to an hour and a half easily.
Hmm. Hmm.
Whereas, I've had shoots where I've uploaded, just over 2,000 photos into Filter Pixel and it's taken about 4 minutes to cull.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, like
yeah.
it's just crazy, right? So,
Yeah, we are definitely in a new era, and as you said, that it's not replacing; it's basically helping people out and saving time and making sure that their clients are happy and they're able to deliver the same day and provide extra value to their clients, which is, like, we
mhm.
deliver the same day or we make you happy and can get more referrals on that particular part as well. So yeah, that's very
Yeah,
interesting. Anything else that you want to show? Any particular part which you want to highlight? I know that you have already mentioned that you go through your best photos first, and then you just ship them, and then you can just bump through the reviews quickly.
yeah, that's kind of like my workflow. Um, Again, like I do quite enjoy the AI analysis part of it. But yeah, just being able to it's just all about being quick. And going back to the conversation of AI, um, if AI was taking over photography, you wouldn't be there on the sidelines taking the photos. Like at the
100%.
end of the day, I'm still the one taking, clicking the button. It's just how do we maximize that workflow from the first photo you take to delivering it to the client, and that's the part that for me I needed to speed up and get to work smoother. So Filter Pixel's been great for that. Yeah, I think being able to have this like deep look into it, um, we can look side by side as well through the scenes and kind of
Yeah,
choose, which is the best one. Um,
and then we can
so
override
like,
if we are not agreeing.
yeah, but like right here, like this is a great example actually. Like, okay, you look at them, if I didn't see the AI analysis from me, I would say, okay, this top left is going to be the best one. And
Hmm.
funnily enough, AI analysis agrees with me. It's got
Yeah,
the best stance here. You got the ball. You can see quite clearly the eyes. And then also
yeah,
by I'm on a laptop here, but if you pinch and zoom in, you can see where the focus point is.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, that's survey mode. It's great. I use it quite a lot as well. Um, yeah, I don't know. It just makes things simple and it just like everything's there and it's not hard to find. Um, and again, I can just quickly go through stuff. I can do it again over here. Which is going to be
yeah.
the better one.
Yeah,
So
and I was
yeah,
like, I will not be surprised if you if you will say that, you click a lot of shoots which are very similar, and you kind of go into analysis paralysis kind of a behavior. It's like, this is good, but like this is also good, like this is also good, but then you have to pick one because you cannot ship everything. So then going
mhm,
back and forth and then figuring out first, like, I've seen plenty of workflows, like people rating 5 stars first, then going to their 5 star, figuring out the 4 star ones, then going to 4 star, figuring out the 3 star, and then ending up finally with their final selection. And they do it like in couple of sittings, and which is
yeah,
crazy. The culling is not even happening in a single sitting for most of the photographers, and that's how I think this tool is helping, and that's how we believed in. That is what we are trying to help.
yeah, totally, totally, and it's really working.
So, I know, like in sports, speed is everything. You have to shoot quickly and then you have to deliver it quickly. How much difference does saving an hour or 30 minutes actually make, like, to your business and to your clients?
Yeah, I think it matters more than people think. Again, when you have a certain deadline, whether it be right after the game, whether it be 24 hours after the game, I always like to over impress. And so if I can get the photos to them that extra half an hour early, they're going to be 10 times happier. Like it's about like impressing the client and over under promising and over in
Over
delivering.
deliver. That's what I was going to come. Yeah, I think
So
that.
like that part is huge for me. If I can get it to them an hour early, then it's like, okay, not only have I delivered this great gallery, but I've done it an hour before they even wanted them, and now they have an hour to play with those photos.
Yeah, it makes them exciting. Like they are still in the game. They still have they still have that memory which is kind of fresh because the game
Mhm.
just got over, and then they are getting their photos, which is kind of a surprise to them. Like, oh, you click
Yeah,
those photos? Oh, they're ready. And then that conversation, definitely, I can see that helping out in the business. Uh, while if you deliver it after a week, the entire conversation changes.
100%. It's
Because
all about like impressing them right away. That's something that I really started like striving myself for and having pride in is being able to deliver it quickly, because then they're like, okay, this guy's good. This guy knows how to do it quickly. He's got good photos. We'd love to have him back again.
yeah, it leads to recurring business
Hmm.
for sure. Beyond taking great photos, what actually helps a sports photographer get hired again? Is it reliability, relationships, faster delivery? You already talked about that we know,
Hmm.
but is it more of a consistency and reliability game or more of a relationship driven game?
I think,
What makes the biggest difference for your career?
yeah, I think it's honestly a bit of everything. I think being able to be a good people person and making those connections with people and, not acting necessarily fake, you're just showing that you're just a human, just like everybody else, like you're somebody that knows what they're doing, like you have the confidence in it, you can deliver quickly, you can take good photos, and just being that somebody that you can talk to and you can banter with and you can have a good time with while still delivering at the highest quality. But I think networking is a massive thing, and I think having those relationships really, really pushes through when it comes to getting more jobs.
I was talking with one of the photographers whom we invited to the session, and he was telling me that one of the tips that he has learned in his career is whenever you talk to someone, you don't need to think whether he is just a recruited intern or he's the boss, because you know he's the one who is communicating that message in the room. And if he's sitting in a meeting with the boss when he's making you a call and the phone is on a speaker, the way you talk and the way you act tells everything about you. And that
100%.
conversation changed the way I think about referrals, think about
Yeah.
relationships, because initially when we think about relationships, we just try to figure out, oh, okay, we will make a relationship with the business owner or the organizer, but everyone matters in the chain.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think again, like it's about just being a human and just being like relatable and being able to like, not acting a certain way because you're talking to a certain person. I think it's just about being a human and just being nice and approachable.
Yeah. And I want to know, like, this would be one of my last questions for this conversation. I know, like, this went too quick, but I want to know, like, for photographers who dream of shooting professional sports one day, because you might have been started from point in time. What's one piece of advice you wish someone had given you when you were starting out?
Can I give two pieces?
Yeah, 100%. Would love to have that.
I think the first thing I would say is to be kind and be patient to yourself. I think a lot of photographers, sports specifically, will start out and they will either expect or hope to be the best right away. And I think being kind to yourself and being patient in the process of you learning is super, super important. I think it's something that people don't take seriously enough. Um, so just being, being gentle with yourself and just saying, like it's a learning process, and I'll get better, and just not being too hard on yourself. I would also just say repetition. I think doing it over and over and over again and putting yourself out there is the best way to kind of climb the ranks. That's kind of how I did it. I started off with some smaller jobs, some stuff that was free. I didn't get paid for it, but building that portfolio and constantly working and working and doing more is where I have got to where I am now. And this last year for me has been pretty crazy in the opportunities I've had, but that's just through growing and exploring new ways of doing things and getting better at what I do.
Yeah, and I've seen your progress. I've seen your work. It's really great, and I think like
Thank you.
the way you are explaining it to people, at least to the audience who's going to see this live today, like being empathetic, being kind, and then also, just see it as a journey rather than a single
Exactly.
milestone, and like maybe enjoying the journey, while you're having it,
100%. Yeah, I think
rather than
that's another really good point is like, and I think this is something that I need to work on is like taking that moment when I'm at these big arenas, at these big events, to just put the camera down and just take it in for a minute or two and enjoy
yeah.
where you are. And I think it's easy to get wrapped up in the idea of like go go go, like gotta get this done, this done, this done. But like actually taking that second to like enjoy it and see how far you've come, it can be quite an emotional experience. You're like, oh, like I really have I've done this. And I think that's another thing that people don't do enough of is just taking that time to look at where they are and where they've come from.
Yeah, I think the best part in this conversation, which is becoming kind of deep at this point, as we are reaching to the end, is, reflecting on where you are and then appreciating your journey, figuring out your next milestone rather than thinking, yeah, I'm doing it for a long time, it's not happening. Rather than that, changing that perspective to seeing where were you 1 year before, 2 year before, 3 year before, and how it has evolved you as a person, and how it has evolved you as a business owner, how what kind
Mhm.
of conversations you have these days with people, and what were you having like 3 years before. I think that will push you as a person, give you more motivation to come the next day, and then because it's hard, right? Like it's definitely hard. It's not that easy as
Oh
it
yeah,
seems.
yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think it just comes down to just being kind to yourself and realizing that photographers are there to support each other as well, and that it's not one big competition.
Yeah, it's not for sure. Well, thank
Mhm.
you so much for joining us today and
Thank you for having me.
giving everyone this honest look at what professional sports photography really looks like, right? And we are doing that action sports, capturing every part in the field, to everything that happens afterwards in the editing room. And we know, like as sports photographer, how difficult it is to today to meet those needs in the deadline uh,
Yeah,
pressure environments. It has been great, to have you here in the Cull Room, and we can't wait to see where your work takes you next.
yeah. Thanks so much for having me, and yeah, thanks.
So, guys, this was Will Thompson. And as you have seen, like how he has taken his career from where he started to where he is today. And we have shown you the workflow of Will. I hope you have seen how sports photographers are really working out with Filter Pixel in their workflows. Along with that, there are a couple of tips in this session. So if you have not taken a note of it, I would like you to go and see the live again, to see where he's coming from the background to where he is today, and how he has taken his journey to the next level with all that motivation he has. So for now, that's the Cull Room for today. And I will see you in the next Cull Room soon.